Good morning. It helps if you turn on the microphone, right? Welcome to the Unitarian Church of Evanston. I'm Janelle Brittain, and I'll be your worship associate today. Whether this is your spiritual home or you're newly discovering this community, we're grateful to share this time with you together today. We strive to be an inclusive and welcoming community, seeking the truth in love and nurturing the human spirit for a world made whole. We are guided by our principles and values, which remind us in every moment and with every challenge that each one of us is worthy of love and that we are all connected through the vast and beautiful web of existence. We come together to remember our kinship with one another and to hold one another in heart and in our minds, and with tenderness and careful attention, and to dedicate ourselves more to fully living in our shared values. People of all ages are welcome here and an important part of our faith community. We are blessed to have children in our sanctuary for the first half of every service and for an entire service once a month. The nest in the front, which is what we call this area over here, is our designated area for families and young children, where we have quiet fidget toys and other activities and kid-friendly things to do. Also, nursery care is available in room 11 every Sunday. As part of being a welcoming and inclusive community, we have some information posted on the screen that can help orient you to us and to our service and how it works. We have a few announcements. Today is the launch of UCE's UU The Vote work for the 2024 election cycle. Yes. It is focused on protecting our democracy. Visit the UU Vote program table during kinship time after service to volunteer for our Milwaukee voter registration program, and also to write postcards. Please join the first of 2 budget town hall meetings this Tuesday at 7 o'clock on Zoom, and check the newsletter for the link. All ages are invited to the day after Pi Day. Now that's P-I, not P-I-E. Event this Friday at 6 p.m. We'll enjoy circular snacks, get it, and then have some Pi Day fun. All are invited to participate in our first annual Easter Peeps show, where we create a small diorama that includes marshmallow peeps. You can see examples and pick up some supplies at the program table next Sunday, or use whatever you have at home you want to make. All dioramas will be displayed on Easter Sunday. We like to have a little fun around here too, don't we? And now let us settle into our shared time of reflection, celebration, and inspiration. As we begin our worship service, those joining us online are invited to gather your chalice as we join in beloved community. Welcome to worship.
Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned, circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children. Keep the circle whole. Circle round for freedom.
join us.
Thank you, choir. That was so touching, wasn't it? We share with you now our land and labor acknowledgement. The Unitarian Church of Evanston resides on land that was recorded as being transferred from the local Potawatomi community to the U.S. government in 1829. Shortly before the Potawatomi in this area were forcefully removed west of the Mississippi River. This land was then sold to white settlers. We remember the ancestors of the contemporary African Americans, the individuals, families, and networks of Black people who built up our country's culture and economy, a role forced on them originally by enslavement. We acknowledge the intentional violence that landed on North American shores in 1619 has continued throughout the generations and remains a reality today. These acknowledgements are one small effort toward building long-term solidarity with contemporary communities. We commit ourselves to take what we learn here today and incorporate it into our lives and turn our thoughts into actions. Please join in our words of shared commitment. We name these realities with honor for all of the ancestors, respect for our descendants, and gratitude for the land we use as sacred space. Today, Greg Grabowski, Shirley Adams, Carol Mergel, with the UU The Vote Working Group brought the flowers in honor of democracy as they light our chalice, symbol of our living tradition. Please join in saying the words on the screen by Reverend Pamela Rumancic. Why community? To remember that one is not a whole number, that we need both roots and wings, that strength comes from relationship and mutuality, that we know life in and through one another. Please rise, embody our spirit, and join in saying the words of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And before we sing our opening hymn, I invite those joining us online to greet each other in the chat box, and those gathered in the sanctuary to turn to one another and briefly say good morning, trying to greet someone who is new to you.
please stay after the service to continue your conversations. And if you're new to UCE, please stop by the newcomer table, the welcome table with the red tablecloth at the back to learn more information about our community. Please remain uplifted as you are and sing hymn number 360, Here We Have Gathered.
Circles by Brad Montague. We begin by drawing the circle and the round along each stew. A safe little circle for just one person. Nobody in the circle but you. As time passes, our eyes open. We see others we really care for. So that's when we ask ourselves, so what's this circle really there for? And the circles all around us, everywhere that we all go, there's a difference we can make, and a love we can all show. The circle doesn't have one person. The circle for us, you, yourself. But that would be like a library with just one book on the shelf. So now draw a bigger circle where friends and family can say, now you see what all can happen in a circle full of tales. But standing in the circle with you and your loved ones now all in it, what about all the other people? All the ones that you couldn't fit. So you stretch and get the pencil out and draw the circle a bit more wide and let a few more people know they're welcome now inside. And the circles all around us, everywhere we all go, there's a difference we can make. And love we can also. It doesn't mean the circle's easy. It's a bit harder the more you see it. But wonderful things can happen when love is known and felt everywhere. But there's still so many persons outside the circle. They're different all they do. The feeling is little and tough, but for a bigger circle, what have to do. So let's trade bigger circles all around us for the rest of our days. Let our caring ripple out in a million little ways. In the circles all around us, everywhere that we all go, there's a difference we can make, and a love we can all show. As our circles all get wider and they shift on every side. Never forget where the love came from. You first found there inside.
Now is the time in our service when we gather to share the joys and sorrows held in our community. If you'd like a joy or sorrow spoken aloud, you can email me. You can fill out the online form found on the homepage of our website. What did I say, all three of them? Sorry. We listen to these offerings in our hearts and in our minds, and so we settle our bodies and our voices by breathing in together, to take in one breath together and let it out. These are the joys and sorrows that have been shared with us today from our book. This is doesn't have a name attached with it, so I'm not sure who this is. Please let me know afterwards. Thoughts and prayers for my sister-in-law whose liver cancer is causing her to start chemo this week. And from Sarah Devaney, a joy. My friend Eric will be playing King Joseph II in a production of Amadeus in Michigan. The production opens this Thursday. Break a leg. Trudy Davis shares that she is happy to return to church after 2 months in Spain. Most exciting was that she got to see her youngest granddaughter begin to walk. And Cheryl Mounts and Carla Williams are remembering Cheryl's father Cecil and Carla's mother Jean as we acknowledge the anniversaries of their passing. Their love is always with us, and they are always in our hearts. And Maria Edelman shares these sorrows with the congregation for her cousin who lost his son in a vehicular accident, and for her daughter Maylene, who has been feeling unwell. And we continue to pray for all who are suffering amidst war and famine, for those held prisoner and hostage in Gaza and in Israel and elsewhere around the world. We lift our prayers for peace and our cries for justice and liberation everywhere for all beings. We share these concerns of the heart as part of our practice of building beloved community. Together we expand our celebrations and we lessen the burden of our grief. And so you're invited to come forward now and light a candle at one of our 3 stations here in the front. If you have a joy or a sorrow on your heart that you would like to recognize, though it may be too tender to say out loud, please come forward now. And if you'd like a candle brought to you, please raise your hand. For these joys, we give our thanks. For these sorrows, we give our love. I invite you now into a posture of meditation as we hold our prayers for peace and well-being within, among, and beyond us. Author Leslie Hazelton wrote about the classic Zen exercise of Ensu, the circle hand-drawn in a single fluid brush stroke. It is close to perfect, but never there, she writes. Indeed, it is often incomplete, left slightly open, as though an invitation to everything beyond it. A perfect circle is uninteresting, a closed system containing nothing, while an imperfect one vibrates with warmth. I invite us into a meditation imagining the imperfect open circle of our being, to practice holding our present wholeness while remaining open to being ever unfinished, always in process. You may want to settle your feet on the floor or sit cross-legged if you're in the nest. Close your eyes and breathe in deeply. And let it go slowly, as if through a straw. And again, in and out. And one more time, in and out. And now let your breath settle into an easy, steady pace. And imagine a blank, dark canvas. And next to it, a brush with long, soft hairs and a cup of tepid water. With your mind's eye, take the brush and dip it in the cup of water. Let the excess water drip in the cup, and then slowly move the brush to the dark gray canvas. Draw a circle with the wet brush on the canvas, and visualize the circle of water held in the darkness of the canvas. Almost a perfect circle, but not quite. Almost completed, but with a small opening at the top. Enough room for possibility to enter. Watch as the circle dries slowly and fades. How circular can you make your circle in your mind? Try to draw in one stroke. Watch the water dry and disappear. And draw again and let it dry and let it disappear. We form circles of connection in our mini universes every moment of every day, each of us widening and closing our circles, drawing them and letting them dissolve and redrawing them again. Each circle, each connection, a practice of the soul. Opening, stretching, perfectly imperfect, unfinished, ever renewing, remade again and again. Let's breathe in together one more time and let it go. Let us remember our circles of connection and wholeness that live within us, among us, and beyond us in every moment. Let us choose to continue to draw them, keep them open, permeable, and at the same time whole. May all beings be well. May all beings know peace. May all beings be free from suffering. As we sing our response, number 123, Spirit of Life, our young people, preschool through 12th, are invited to head to their faith formation time with their adult leaders.
As we say in our covenant each Sunday, service is our law. UCE is called by our mission and principles and values to contribute to our community, to form accountable partnerships, and to express gratitude through giving. Today's offering will be shared with Deborah's Place, whose mission is opening doors of opportunity for women who are homeless in Chicago. Deborah's Place helps provide supportive housing and services which offer women their key to healing, achieving their goals, and moving on from the experience of homelessness. You may text to give, mail in a check, put cash in the collection bowls, or give from our website. If you write a check, please indicate in the memo line of your check if it is for the shared offering or some other giving. The ushers will now come forward to pass the collection bowls down the rows. Please give as generously as you are able, and may what you give bring you joy. Thank you for your generosity.
Beautiful job. Thank you. Our reading is by Reverend Dana E. Worsnop from Unlocking the Power of Covenant, a report of the UUA Commission on Appraisal in 2021. She writes, "We need not think alike to love alike," wrote the 16th century Unitarian Francis David. Speaking of our faith, people often say they have found a community of like-minded people, and I know just what they are getting at. But I know that they are also getting it not quite right. I don't want to be with a crowd who think just like me. I want to be in a community where I don't have to think like everyone else to be eligible for salvation. I want to be with people who value compassion, justice, love, and truth, though they have different opinions about all sorts of things. I want to be with people of good heart, people who have many names and no name at all for God, who see in me goodness and dignity, who also see my failings and foibles, and who still love me. I want to be with people who feel their interconnection with all existence and let it guide their footfalls upon the earth. People who see life as a paradox and don't rush to resolve it, who are willing to balance upon the tightrope that is life, who will help steady me when I wobble, who give of themselves, who share their hearts and minds and gifts. I want to be with people who let their faith community call them into a different way of being in the world. People who support, encourage, and even challenge each other to more ethical living, who are willing to be uncomfortable trying to get there, who inspire one another to follow the call of the Spirit, who covenant to be honest, engaged, and kind, who strive to keep their promises and hold me to the promises I make. I want to be with people who know that human community is usually warm and generous, often challenging, and almost always a grand adventure. In short, I want to be with people like you.
Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide. No one stands alone, we'll stand side by side. Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide. No one stands alone, we'll stand side by side. Draw the circle circle wide. Draw the the circle, draw the circle wide. No one stands alone, we'll stand side by side. Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide, draw it wider still. Let this be our song. No one stands alone, standing side by side. Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide.
I want to start by thanking my conversation partner for this service, Jean Durkin, who at this year's auction bid on and won the opportunity to meet me for a meal and talk about a sermon topic of her choice. I'm sorry to say I'm looking around the room and I don't see Jean. I feel like I should have texted her to remind her or say the time is changing. Maybe she's watching online, and I hope you are, Jean. If not, you'll watch later. Jean chose to meet at Hearts and Flower Bakery, the Misericordia Bakery cafe on Ridge, which is wonderful. If you haven't been there, I highly recommend it. It's very good. Our conversation was, as conversations with Jean usually are, expansive and meandering, a kind of poetry and dialogue. Jean thinks like I do, not in a straight line, but in cloud bursts of imagery and ideas and feelings and memories. We had a great time. And it was challenging to construct a sermon out of the notes we were both scribbling on a piece of paper as we talked with our hands and ate quiche. But the delicious morsels of conversation we shared kept bringing me back to some juicy ideas like circles of belonging, circles of community, ever growing and transforming, expanding and contracting like a heartbeat, permeable, like a net that supports life, holds us together, but allows for growth, movement, and plurality. There she is! So called you out, Jean. I'm so sorry. Oh, phew. I'm glad you're here. Jean harkened back in our conversation to radical hospitality, something that connected us early on in our knowing one another here, early in my time as the membership director of this congregation, when my focus was almost exclusively on how to be as welcoming as possible at the front door. There's a book that was the inspiration of our hospitality teams called Radical Hospitality, A Benedictine's Way of Love by Lonnie Collins Pratt and Daniel Homan. It's about welcoming the stranger as yourself, a way of practicing inclusivity that was a real culture shift for this congregation, a culture shift that has continued over the last 20 years. Never perfect, never complete, always in process. As we continue to build beloved community within, among, and beyond this congregation, we are working to draw the circle wider and wider still. Early 19th century progressive socialist American poet Edwin Markham famously said, "He drew a circle that shut me out, heretic, rebel, a thing to flout. But love and I had the wit to win. We drew a circle and took him in." In this moment, with all that is fraught and challenging in our times, talk of drawing circles may conjure images of circling the wagons, closing ranks, excluding the other. We are living in a time of increasing isolation, loneliness, and despair. Rates of depression and mental illness and drug addiction, overdose, and suicide are on the rise, and so are hatred and division and polarization. But here, in this faith, in this house of the Spirit, our purpose is to offer ourselves, each other, and the world an antidote, to affirm that another way is possible. We are here to demonstrate that circles can intersect and transform. Together, we practice drawing permeable circles that allow a free flow of ideas, circles that create a container safe enough for us to take risks, circles that hold us in our grief, and circles that honor each part as necessary to the whole. Here, we work to create and recreate circles that are ever evolving, ever opening, and expanding. I am reading the book A Paragon by Colin McCann, which I know many of you are as well, in preparation for the conversations, the interfaith conversations we will host here on the 24th. And a paragon is a geometric shape with a countably infinite number of sides. The author writes, "As a whole, a paragon approaches the shape of a circle, but a magnified view of a small piece appears to be a straight line. One can finally arrive at any point within the whole. Anywhere is reachable. Anything is possible, even the seemingly impossible." Within the infinite number of sides, perspectives, and points of view we may encounter in each other are infinite possibilities. Nothing is fixed. Nothing is immutable. It is the work of beloved community to help shape possibilities that are life-giving and love-expanding. This month's Soul Matters theme is transformation, highlighting one of the proposed values to our Unitarian Universalist guiding documents. The language around this proposed revision to Article 2 of our bylaws describes our value of transformation this way. We adapt to the changing world. We covenant to collectively transform and grow spiritually and ethically. Openness to change is fundamental to our Unitarian Universalist heritages, never complete and never perfect. Never complete and never perfect. As we practiced in our meditation, drawing a circle with our mind's eye, always open, never complete or fully closed, we can practice opening our hearts and minds to one another. It is a practice because it is vulnerable to remain open, especially in these days of calcified positions and exacerbated fear. We are constantly being trained to mistrust others, to be on the defense against an attack. If we are to nurture spirits and be transformed by and through our relationships, we are called to practice this openness with our tender, aching hearts. We are called to risk ourselves for love. American Buddhist nun and teacher Pema Chodron in Living Beautifully describes a meditation on opening the doors of compassion in our hearts. She describes this as inviting all sentient beings to be our guest. And she goes on to say it means opening our door to everyone, not just to the people we like or the ones who smell good or the ones we consider proper, but also to the violent ones and the confused ones, to people of all shapes, sizes, and colors, to people speaking all different languages, to people with all different points of view. She also goes on to say that it is not possible for us to be that open all the time, all at once. But we can practice opening the door a little bit and then closing it again as we need to, and then opening it a little bit wider the next time. It is an ongoing, lifelong process of opening ourselves to one another. In this world of increasing isolation and loneliness, where kindness is becoming rarer and tension and division are growing everywhere, it is a life-giving and powerfully transformative practice to open our door of compassion to every being a little wider every day. In our conversation, Jean also pointed me to a video of an author event featuring the well-known author David Brooks, titled "How to Know a Person: The Art of Seeing Others Deeply and Being Deeply Seen." When he speaks of seeing others deeply, he's talking about beholding another, witnessing their fullness, their humanity, honoring at the same time their distinction and their connection to ourselves. He's also acknowledged the inherent ableism of the language of sight, physical abilities, cultural differences, and neurodiversity can all impact the way that we see or behold. And he recognizes and bears that we bear witness to one another in a myriad of different ways. So when he's talking about seeing one another, he means how we're knowing one another deeply. He talks about 4 phases of getting to know people deeply. The first is to gaze. It sounds simple, but to look up and look at each other, to pick our heads up from our screens and look into each other's eyes can be incredibly vulnerable and tremendously powerful. I watched this short documentary that one of you sent me this week called The Barber of Little Rock. It's about the economics of racial injustice and one man's mission to advance equity and build community. Arlo Washington is a lifelong resident of Little Rock, and he started a barber college and a lending institution giving small loans to individuals and small businesses to help close the generational wealth gap that's built upon race in this nation. It's a beautiful film. But the thing that really got me is when Mr. Washington is teaching his barber class, and he asks 2 of his students, 2 young men, to stand up and to look at each other in the eyes for 2 full minutes. I know, it's a long time. Not looking away. And as they look, he asks them to see in each other's eyes the people they care most deeply about, their deepest concerns and hopes. Such a simple thing and incredibly moving. It brought me to tears just watching it. It brought them to tears. The second phase of knowing one another deeply is to accompany one another, to simply attend to and be with one another, to show up for each other. I've long thought that quality time most often comes out of a quantity of time. It's hard to force deep knowing and connection when you don't have enough time to just hang out, to have fun, play a game, do a puzzle, or take a drive. Parents know that that's when all the best conversations are when you have your kids trapped in the car. And yet our time and our attention are ever at a premium. We have less and less time and less attention. So giving one another our undivided attention, even for a little bit, not focusing on saying the right thing, but just being there can be transformative. Parker Palmer talks about his struggle with deep depression and how the most helpful thing to him in his darkest hours were when a friend came over every day, didn't say anything, but just sat with him and rubbed his feet. The third phase of seeing one another deeply that Brooks names is to have conversations, keeping the gem of what you hold in common at the center, There's always something we can find that we hold in common, a shared value, a common hope or wish, even when we vehemently disagree about how to attain those wishes or hopes. Cultivating a shared respect for another's humanity is an essential component of anything we accomplish together. Being in dialogue across difference takes intention and a willingness to move through the discomfort of not knowing everything, of setting aside our assumptions. But done well, being in dialogue across difference can truly change the world. And the fourth phase of seeing one another deeply is to ask good questions. Brooks maintains that children are great at asking questions. They don't couch them, they go right to the heart of things. And if we can practice just having a little bit of that childhood wonder and curiosity and fearlessness, sometimes relentlessness, it would do us some good. Here's a great question I want to remember to ask people. What's something that you would do if you weren't afraid? And here's another good question to ask when we're in dialogue across difference of opinion. What am I missing? Tell me more. Help me understand. We live in a dehumanizing age, says Brooks, and I agree. I continue to believe that when we fail to recognize our common humanity, fail to behold the divinity in one another, and instead stoke our fears, we are succumbing to the greatest malady of our time, mutual dehumanization. The medicine for this malady is widening our circles of belonging in community, building permeable circles of care that never shut out and continuously draw more in. And being in community is hard. It's no way to avoid pain or challenge. As our message for all ages said, it doesn't mean the circle is easy. It can get harder the more you share. Conflict is inevitable. Conflict in communities of care like ours is inevitable. There's no way to have 400 people gathering together trying to nurture spirits and make the world whole without having different conflicting ideas about how to do that. Conflict processed openly and honestly with care and compassion, however, can build trust. It can move people and communities to greater courage and deeper shared commitment. Think of a time when someone you cared about said a hard but truthful thing. Can you think of a time when someone trusted you enough to tell you when you messed up, when you hurt them? I can. It hurts like hell. It makes sense that we want to avoid those hard conversations as much as possible, but think about a time when you got through that hard conversation to another side, to a deeper understanding, to a greater respect and trust. I've experienced and witnessed this countless times here. Conflict worked through with courage and compassion is truly transformational. And I recognize a culture shift within our congregation that we are embracing conflict more courageously, and I see it transforming us. I see that as a community, we are more willing to turn toward each other and to say hard things. I see us working through disagreements about how to do things and imagining new ways. I see us recognizing when we make mistakes and calling each other in to do better because we care about each other. We have Reverend Karen Gustafson to thank for some of that. We have Reverend Susan to thank for modeling conflict transformation with compassion and directness so beautifully. We have the Anti-Oppression Task Force and our consultants from the YWCA to thank for helping us practice restorative justice circles. And we have each other to thank for staying in the hard work of widening our circles of connection and care, even when it's hard and uncomfortable and complicated. We're not perfect. It's still difficult. But I see us doing it, beloveds. Turn to the person next to you and say, thank you for staying in it. Thank you. In processing conflict, it is so important for us to understand ourselves, to know what our values are, and to identify what we share in common. It is so important to get past our assumptions of the other and ask curious questions that help us to really see each other deeply, to behold each other with compassion and respect. Beloveds, let us continue to draw the circles of community together wider, more open, more flexible, and permeable, to let all who would find a place to practice being known and knowing one another deeply, to live our values with integrity and shared commitment. May we make it so. Amen. She's drawing a circle. Good job. Good job. Amen.
Thank you, Gregory. That darling little girl is Aracel, who is the daughter of Nahia and Archis, who are our newest members. They just signed our membership book this morning. As we extinguish the chalice, please join in saying the words on the screen by Reverend Elizabeth Sell Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of a commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing our closing hymn, number 323, Break Not the Circle.
Spirit of the circle that is love, as we twirl in this dance that is life, we give thanks for reminding us each day of our task of ministering to each other with a searching glance, a safe touch, a generous smile, a thoughtful word. Thank you for reminding us that we are always building our beloved comunidad. Let us go building beloved community within, among, and beyond us, here and now. Amen. What, Dean?